This is Hydrogen Tap. It's Sunday here, morning. I'm finishing up the installation of the hardware on under the hood. It's taken me a while between glue sittings and design work to do this. As you can see, I've got that's the bubbler that I was using last year. I've got it intact here, and I've got a clear tube running to it. One of the new things I've added to this, which I had trouble with last year, was when the bubbler, or when the engine turned off and the system turned off, what happened was that it would suck the water back from the bubbler back to the cell. And the reason for that is obvious, because the suction, the pressure from the hydrogen is no longer there. So what I've done is install this valve, which is right here, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. And the valve is going one direction, that's to the bubbler, so when the cell turns off, no longer will it back into the cell. That was a real pain, because every time I turned the engine off, what would happen is the water from the bubbler would go into the cell. You can bypass that idea, but it's a pain, and that was, I was then putting electrolyte in the bubbler so that it would just back up to the cell. Anyway, so what I've done here, as you can see, there's my one-way valve. There's the cell. And now I've got this clear silicone tube that's hooked to it. This is all for design, and by the end of the day I should have this finished. And then I've got to glue all these pieces in. I'm also going to put another strap here. I'll show you how this is set up here. You can see the plate from the bubbler, and that's what's holding it. I've got to secure it one more way. It's another view of the system. And this tube coming from the bubbler is now going to the air filter. I'll show you where that is. If we follow the bubbler clear tube, it goes right into here, which is bypassing the actual filter itself. And I'll show you the inside of that. So we'll take the filter apart. There's a good view of the inside of the air filter. And there's where the bubbler comes in. That's right under the filter package. Which you can see how that fits right over it. And now that's secure. There's my shortcut, my sawed-off air intake. So what I'm going to do is secure this tube, this clear tube, to this side of the inside like that, like I've done there. Going to re-tie everything there. That's that is just laying there because when I took the insulation out for last year's, I took some of the tie wraps off, but that's going to be tied neatly. So this tube will be following those red and blue ties. One of the other problems I've had is here. You can see on my battery, I've got two connections on the battery right there, which makes it very easy for me to get a short. I have a temporary piece there, which I'm going to tie on just a few minutes so that it doesn't short. That short is quite an amp short. I want to be careful with that. This is my ground wire here, which I've got to redo now. And you can see it's tied on there. I've got to make that better than that. So all in all, we're just about there. There's a better view of it. These things have to be tied back so they sit a little bit better. I hopefully shall have this today if it doesn't rain. And once I get this all set up, it's got to be, those tubes have to be glued airtight. And then I start with the wiring system. You can see I'm using this I get that these tubes here, these connections are working really well. Gives me ability to tie into them a lot easier than I was doing before. I've got one more connection, or one more tube to connect, and that's underneath there, coming from the bottom of the cell to the air, to the water reservoir that's there. I'll do that in the next hour, and all this together, I still have the ports there for my filtering system, which I will be putting on, so I'm all ready for that as well. After I took out all that box that I had in there that was to the air intake for the Honda, I've got so much room in there. I've got plenty of room to do the work I need. And I know most people don't have that kind of room. There's other ways you're going to have to put your cell in there. This cell is going to work very well. If you've been watching my videos, you know I was about 20% ahead as far as gas mileage. You can go to hydrogentap.com and see the mileage on the Honda before I took it out. Got about 6 more miles to the gallon by using the cell. It wasn't as good as this cell, so I'm hoping to get more mileage than that. I want to get 30%, although I've been called many words after I said that. I will try as hard as I can to get that. If you've got another car, then you're going to have to figure other ways of putting your cell in there. I am trying, and I do have on my workbench some various designs I've been fooling with, trying to make it so other people could install cells into their car without all this trouble. But that's not going to be for a while. If you want to write me, you can write me at johnaarons@hydrogentap.com. That's John Aarons, one word, at hydrogentap.com. I'd be glad to email you. and back to work.